All right, looks like we're back. Sorry about that, you guys. That's what happens when you have a glitch in your matrix, I guess. But nonetheless, it gave me a time to take a quick drink and see how good my tech skills truly are. Where was I? No, I'm just kidding. I know where I was. So there I was, kind of going through school, getting all this stuff done, and graduating with master's degree. Amazing. Didn't think it was possible. I mean, I looked for every excuse to weasel my way out of that, but I had too much support and too many people that were pushing for me. And really, I loved what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to do, this career of helping people overcome addictions and to get to the core of what's causing all this. And the day that my graduation came, my mother just happened to be in town, and I'm like, fantastic, you can come check this out. It's at the Maverick Center, the E Center, whatever it's called those days. And she's like, well, what time? Because I have a plane that leaves at 4. And I'm like, dude, that's perfect. My graduation's at 10. You could walk there and be there in an hour, not very far from the airport. And she never showed up. She never came. This amazing experience of the first person in family to ever go to college, to ever go to a master's degree. And it was too much for her to, I guess, carve out some time. But it put me in this mindset of like, this is my new pursuit. This is my new family. This is what I'm going to engage in. And, it did. And I had the imposters, like feelings, all this kind of stuff. But when I got that job working with those folks at the county, and I looked back at how much recreation had influenced my recovery, and when I saw the potential of what it could do for people in recovery, after hearing Tyson do his presentation on health exercise science, knowing that it worked for me, I had this thought of like, hey, what if I do this program, much like what's been done back east in Ohio with a guy that I was following on social media. But what if we do it different? What if instead of using 12 steps as a foundation, we create our own program? What if I use this erase and replace philosophy? If you're going to erase the addiction, you have to replace it with something of greater value, which was health, wellness, relationships, service, family, all this stuff that I really thought were the foundations of sobriety and long-term healing. And what if we took it a step further? What if we said, hey, the word addict, not in our vocabulary. What if once we move from addict to an athlete, the dominoes begin to fall and you can become an addict to athlete, to a father, to a brother, to a scholar, to an artist, to an employee, to a husband, to whatever, right? You start building on that foundation. And I thought about this, and I went running with my brother-in-law, Jeremy, and I'm like, hey, I've got this idea. And I remember sharing it with him, and he's like, dude, that sounds amazing. I shared it with a mentor of mine, Dr. Paul Jenkins, and I'm like, what do you think of this? He's like, freaking genius, do it. And we started to align ourselves in a position after I approached my supervisors, Bruce Chandler and Richard Nance. And I'm like, guys, I have this idea. And they're like, what is it? So I want to take a couple people and I want to train them to run a 5K. We'll do the Couch to 5K program. I want to use that as kind of like an alternative kind of approach to talk about their stuff, to go running, and to show them that there's more out there than just sitting in a circle talking about stuff that really, can lead to, some heavy hearts. And they're like, yeah, go for it. Keep them safe. And so I went down to my group that next day and I said, I want volunteers. We're going to do a Couch to 5K in a month, a month and a half. There's going to be this run out here. It's called the Chase the Mayor 5K. And I said, we're going to do this run. If you guys want to come a little bit early, we'll stretch, we'll go over some running techniques, and then we'll go train. And only 5 of like the 40 people raised their hands. They're like, we'll try it. And that was when Team Addict to Athlete was born. Tyson, the individual who did that presentation, was one of them. And I had several others. And literally every day they were at treatment. They'd come a little bit early. We'd gather as a group. We'd stretch out. We'd do this stuff. And then we'd go for a little run. And when they came back, they were talking to everybody else about, oh, we went out and we ran here, and everybody else is thinking you're crazy. But these athletes started training for this 5K, and I found out something very interesting, very fast. And that was, while we were out there running, these 5 individuals, we were training for this. They'd start telling me all kinds of stuff they'd never tell me in my office. They'd start processing things, and they'd start having these epiphanies and these ideas. And I'm thinking, why are you guys telling me this stuff out here, but you wouldn't tell me in my office with all my feng shui water fountains and all this kind of stuff, And I didn't realize what it was at the moment. And I'll tell you what that was in a second. But they trained for this 5K. And the day that 5K come, one of our athletes, Tyson, he handed out these shirts that said addict to athlete, because that's what we're calling ourselves. And I'm like, ooh, you guys be careful. Wearing those T-shirts breaks and breaches your anonymity. People are going to know that you had an addiction. And they're like, we love that we had an addiction because this is who we are now. They handed these shirts out, these little jerseys. They all put them on. They ran, and it was great. The mayor took off. 2 minutes later, they all took off, and all of them but one caught the mayor. And, that mayor stopped them individually and asked them about their shirts. What is this? Tell me about this. And then the mayor of Provo, Mayor John Curtis, was having a conversation, brief by nature, but largely impactful, about what they were doing. There's an ex-heroin addict, recovering heroin addict, now beating the mayor in a run. I'm sure the mayor's like, holy crap, man, I better up my training or something. But in turn, he contacted the county commissioners when he found out it was a county program, said, this is a pretty cool thing, keep it going. They called me in the next day. I thought I was in trouble. Obviously, they're like, hey, green light, whatever that was, keep doing it. And that's how Addict to Athlete was established, by putting out an alternate path to recovery, something very different than anyone's ever seen here. In 2010, we were headlining this movement. And the greatest thing about that was what came after, because man, the 12-step people, those folks, those old timers, they put us in their crosshairs and they put us through the gauntlet. They were upset that we were doing this. They were mad that we were doing it this way. We had a couple of people come into our meetings and kind of call us out in our meetings we were having. And I'm like, wow, that is bold. But we always testified that we were not a replacement. We were an addition to. And I like to kind of think that that's kind of what started so many other programs in Utah, but also throughout the country. Again, what I was doing wasn't a unique idea. It was kind of like a spinoff of what they were doing in Racing for Recovery back east. Very different approach, very different mindset. Again, creating a different path means that we start from the ground up using our erase and replace philosophy, but also coining the term, turn your mess into a message, meaning everyone out there has a story. And when you do something amazing, why not share it? If you have the tools to overcome addiction, why wouldn't you share that with everyone? And again, breaking anonymity was a big wall to knock down. I'm telling you guys, that was like David and Goliath. Because I'm thinking, we've been taught since day one, anonymity, anonymity, anonymity. But guess what? Even in 2010, anonymity it started to kill people. And I get it. And it's kind of funny. We see this so different now, but it was interesting because I thought I better keep this on the down low. And I kept Addict to Athlete very close to the vest for a long time because I saw it working, but I didn't want someone to come in and shut it down because it didn't fit the mold that was out there. And again, it was Bruce Chandler who approached me a couple of years after we'd started, as our team was beginning to grow, and said, why don't you present at the university or the Utah Valley University School of Alcohol and Drug Conference? And I'm like, cool, I'll do my victims and agent stuff, become a victim or an agent of addiction or victim of recovery, right? Agent of recovery. And he's like, no, I want you to do it on Addict to Athlete. And you guys, I was scared because I thought, if I tell people about what I'm doing, they're going to shut me down. Because that was the mindset, right? I mean, we're doing something so out of the norm. And I'm like, okay, all right. And so I did. And you guys, that presentation, if you watch that presentation, I'm going to play it today. But if you watch that presentation, that was my very first time I spoke publicly about Addict to Athlete. And I had many athletes there with me that were situated and sit with some of the students and with some of the professionals that were at the conference. And at the end, when we ended with the Champions Challenge offered by Coach Flowers, again, one of the podcasts that we absolutely love, I was putting this PowerPoint together. I needed something to emphasize why I don't call people in recovery addicts, why I hate that language, and I will never use it to identify someone, because if you identify yourself as an addict, that's all you will be. And the negative connotation that comes with that will for always be yours, which always gives you a little bit of a crack in the door to get back into it. So why not shut it completely by renaming yourself? And that was a champion. And that resonated with me, because people that overcome addictions in my book, they're champions. They're not in recovery. We heal from this. And I know that's still in 2022, not a popular thing, but we heal from it. I was watching a TikTok yesterday, and it was one of these guys who's like a guru in recovery. And he's like, what's the difference between a whole person and someone who's clean and sober? He's like, clean and sober people are stupid. They're going to keep using and blah, blah, blah. But if you're a whole person, I'm like, guys, don't do that crap. Let it be like it resonated within the hearts of the people that are pursuing it. Let them call it what they want. But for me, I'm going to call them champions. And at the end of the presentation, after we went, and it was emotional. I get emotional talking about this 10 years ago. For the first time, when this presentation ended, and at the end, Coach Flowers says, athletes, who am I? I'm a champion. Athletes, who am I? I'm a champion. Who am I? I'm a champion. I had all my athletes who were scattered around the classroom stand up. And for the first time, they were recognized as people in recovery on a path of healing. And then everybody else, the professionals and the students, stood up and applauded them. They gave them a standing ovation. They had to come in and tell us to turn it down because it was getting so loud. And my gosh, I still have it burned in my memory. The faces of my athletes that were out there, guys, it was amazing. They're being cheered for simply for who they are and what they're doing now, not for what they did, but for who they are today. And that was a big deal. And again, it just kind of catalyzed us into more opportunity. Our program began to grow. We were officially launched as a 501c3 with the help of a lot of dedicated people. Rory Burke was instrumental in helping us get our 501c3. Tim Whipple, who was on our board, really got behind us. Marissa and all that she's done, and Coach Jed Jensen. Addict Athlete wouldn't be where it is today without Coach Jensen. So each year, we started 2010. It wasn't until this year, 2022, that we finally were able to secure a grant to help us now truly organize this program for what it is. Addict Athlete's very different. On Giving Tuesday, much like today, we ask for donations. It helps us fund our program. We've been graciously gifted a grant from the state of Utah that has instrumentally helped us into more growth, secure facility. It's small by nature, but we have our own little gym. We've got our own group room. And Addict to Athlete is not a recovery gym, not even close. We have that because of what I utilize it for and with. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. But we are a community support group who uses health, wellness, education as a resource to establish sobriety. The athletics we always wanted to do in our communities that we once took from. So instead of just coming to a location to work out and to stay here, I wanted the athletes to go out there in the communities that they were from to show the people that once looked at them as addicts to now see them as athletes and contributors and producers and creators. That's why we take a very different approach. A lot of people get like, oh, addict athlete, hoity-toity, you guys won't hang with the sober, softball groups and stuff. That's not it. It's because I don't want to typecast the athletes to only like prescribe to that one group. We're not abnormal. We don't need our own league. I want you to go out there into the normal leagues and show them who you authentically are. When you walk onto the baseball diamond, the softball field, the volleyball court, the basketball court, holy cow, wearing an Addict to Athlete jersey, people are going to ask you what it is. You in turn get to bear your testimony of recovery. And guess what happens? People say, I have a brother who struggled with addiction. I have a mother who struggled. I struggled. You start connecting with people because everyone who can hear this podcast, this presentation, this video today, you have someone in your life that struggles. So why typecast yourself into one paradigm and only hang out with people that struggle? Why not get out there and make some real movement? So Addict to Athlete until today, was never a brick and mortar place. We had always utilized the assistance from our local communities to help us open chapters. And this grant has helped us immensely. All that was said today so that I can tell you a little bit about why Giving Tuesday today is so important, because we want to give you something back. I see a lot of people that are going for like thousands and thousands of dollars, and that's great. We need it. Trust me, we need it. But today I'm asking you, if you want to donate financially, fantastic. We'd really appreciate it. But I would love for you today to go out and purchase some kind of toy that we can have you bring here today to put under our tree for our Project ELF, to benefit the minor league, the kids that truly need it. I would love to put $1 million on our website. Like, let's go for this. But you guys have been very generous with us this year. We've raised like a lot for our Project ELF, and we've got, I think, 8 or 9 families right now that we're doing Project ELF, this year for many children. But we still need some additional, and I would love for you, if you would be so willing, to bring an unwrapped toy to our home-based facility, to come check out our facility, to bring this toy to us. We're at 1875 South State Street in Orem, Suite T500 in the basement. You can see all the signage as you come down, and we'll post this and mark this. We'd love for you to come down and meet us and donate a toy, and shoot, maybe even come grab a T-shirt for your work. It's that kind of stuff that I think Giving Tuesday should really be about. I don't think this is the time that we look at bankrolling, the facilities or whatnot. I think this is a time that we show you exactly where this charity goes. We are in full swing right now, and trust me, we do. We need, money to keep the lights on and stuff. But right now, because of the grants, we are able to do that. And we'll have other fundraising efforts and stuff in the future, and that's going to come. And I hope that this is something that we can continue to do, because we've been able to increase our reach throughout the state of Utah by opening chapters from Davis County to the north, all the way to St. George, and chapters all the way in the middle, including the Utah State Prison. Because our model is very different. It's not about bigger, badder, faster, stronger. It's about connecting with you first. It's reintroducing yourself to who you authentically are. Then it's you becoming a teammate, someone to help hold you accountable, to pass you the ball and to be ready to receive it when you've got to pass it, to be able to be led by a team captain, someone that you can that can be mentored by, to be led by a coach, right? And when we laid this program out, it was very different because it's all peer driven. And I love this too, and I'll toot this horn a little bit. Addict to Athlete was the first to kind of implement this peer mentor type experience, by which we gave people a lot of leadership positions that needed, because I needed help. I couldn't do this myself. This isn't my team. This is their team. And I love the fact that in 2010, we started this, and now I see things like certified peer mentor training, where you can become a certified peer mentor. And I think that's awesome, because that's exactly what we did in 2010. And because of that, I've seen people take our certified sober coach program and become a coach to open their own chapter under our nonprofit. And I will tell you, the experiences that these folks are having, it's hard. It is not easy. And in fact, that is one reason why our 40-hour training, it does cost, is because you've got to make sure you have what it takes to do this, because it is not easy to be a coach of this team. As hard as it is to be the head coach, the local coaches that do all of the stuff for their chapters, they put in lots of hours for nothing in return. this isn't a paid program. This is kind of like hey, you're volunteering, you're doing this kind of stuff. You're doing it because it's a passion of yours. And so, our 40-hour training goes in depth on scope of practice, on what it means, on how to navigate, the coaching, meaning moving someone from a point forward. It's not about doing therapy and doing things in the back. It's about you helping someone achieve the goals that they have for themselves. Because of this, we've seen many of our coaches go on to get their own like personal degrees in therapy, because they're like, okay, I like this, but I want to do more. So it's inspired people to go back to school. We have several coaches that can't coach anymore because they're going to school, and I love it. It's fantastic. So what we're asking today for Giving Tuesday, it is not to have you, donate, millions of dollars. We'd love that. Don't get me wrong. But if you could, on a day that's kind of snowy, and I did see the sun's coming out, go down to your local store, Target, dare I say Walmart, anywhere, and grab something that you can bring here so that we can have these parents, when they come, towards the middle of this month, to come do their Project ELF wrapping, that they'll be able to take maybe a bonus, maybe something that they saw that kid's asked for. You will be able to utilize Giving Tuesday to help these kids have a Christmas. And the thing is none of us get to see the faces of these kids, but you'll feel the energy that it provides by helping out this way. And don't get me wrong, again, we love the financial stuff. And some of you guys that can't, that maybe are busy or maybe aren't around, financial donations are fantastic. But today for Giving Tuesday, everything we collect goes into Project ELF because of how important it truly is. And we'd love for that to be an unwrapped toy that we can utilize for this upcoming Project ELF experience. And again, I started this whole thing off talking a little bit about that Project ELF and how important it is. And through the efforts of our county to county relay and some of the other things, we've been able to fundraise quite a bit. And we'll do other fundraisers for the program later, but for this day, we wanted to give you something back. So that something back is going to come by way of this kind of like, I guess I'll call it a telethon. Isn't that what those things used to be, where you'd call up and be like, I'm going to donate 10 cents or whatever? I wanted to share with you a few things, and we're not done yet, because there's also a few angles I want to take with you to talk a little bit about why Team Addict to Athlete works. And you may not know how many resources we truly have. Not only do we have our facility here where we run, community recovery support groups, and everyone is welcome to these. You do not have to be a person in active recovery or even addiction. We have just as many muggles, the non-magic folk, the people that don't use, that come and participate because they have a loved one that does, than we do people that have actual addictions and are in recovery themselves. And I love that, because we learned really, really early on that if we separated the two, much like what the 12 steps and Al-Anon do, that these weird kind of like battles kind of incur. And I didn't want that to happen. I think that you can learn a lot from someone on the other side of the fence. And we found that to be true. We have found so many people that don't personally have addiction that come here and learn about the people that do, because they have a loved one. That in turn creates a whole different opportunity and relationship for people they didn't have before. We've had siblings come and run our races and be part of this meeting in hopes that their sibling would see. And many times they do. And guess what happens? The sibling comes. We've had children come and support their parents. And again, that is why the Addict to Athlete Minor League was established. The Addict to Athlete Minor League is a beautiful thing. This is a group of kids who typically are the children of the athletes in recovery, or they themselves are struggling. And what we found is by giving them 110% support, a lot of amazing things have come. We started in 2010. That was 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago now. To me, that's mind blowing. We just had one of our minor league athletes from back in the day be sworn in as a Utah County Sheriff. And Athlete Long, I am so proud of your son for all that he's done and the things that he's overcome, and just the person that he's going to be, because this is a young man who was raised kind of with this team in mind. His mother was Christy was a very big part of this. Her podcast was amazing. Christy did the same thing. She went up the chain of being a team captain. She went back on her degree. She's working as a therapist now. And she's been through a roller coaster of stuff with herself and her family. And yet look at what's happened. They're good kids. They've seen their mom in the most darkest of times and the most powerful light at times. And our young little minor leaguer just got sworn in as a sheriff. I've seen so many of our minor leaguers go on to do amazing running experiences. I think of the Sundays and all that they do. It's been kind of fun. My own children have been raised on this team. My oldest daughter, Brooklyn, she does a lot of our social media now. She does a lot of our videos. For you coaches, you'll see a lot of her work here very shortly. So this minor league is a big deal. When I started noticing that people were bringing their kids to our meetings, it blew me away. Because I'd been to other meetings where people were vulgar with language, that they were, smoking and just being kind of like distant, not really emotionally safe for a kid. And a lot of times people needed to bring their children because of the necessity. Again, remember what I was talking about with a lot of times, like we're doing all this treatment, all these meetings, who has time to be part of a family? That's why the minor league was started. And one of our most amazing athletes that unfortunately lost the battle to addiction was a spearhead in organizing the minor league. And then, of course, we had Coach Sunday and Coach James step up and do some stuff with the minor league with our 50-mile relay, the Lake to Lake relay in St. George, which we're doing again this year. We got to do a lot of opportunities. So when I saw these kids start coming to our meetings because they were positive by nature, they were informational based, they were inspiring, we got to see a whole new window on changing the course of addiction. Many people ask me, Coach, what's the solution to this? It's reestablishing the family system. If we truly want to end addiction, we need to actively engage in rebuilding the family system. It's not going to come with medication. It's not going to come with policies and laws. It's going to come with us reestablishing family systems. But that's really, really hard. And that's a reach that most people don't want to take. And so you see a lot of policies and a lot of procedures and a lot of rules and regulations and all kinds of stuff that come out. But we don't talk about healing the family, because that's hard and it may not take. So when I see the minor leagues start to increase their participation and I see these family systems beginning to heal again, we like to help them build and establish a very strong home team. Now, the home team is a concept of keeping your home court advantage in your advantage by establishing a house of sobriety, a house of love, a house of safety, a house of communication. It's about establishing a place where healing can occur, because when you are in active recovery or active addiction, you're like a wrecking ball. And so by coming here and learning how to reestablish your home team, or your home court, that behind that door, your front door, what can that become? Hopefully a dynasty team. You got to learn what positions everyone plays. You got to learn how to call plays. You got to learn how to throw some timeouts every now and then. You got to learn to be cool, and despite that, there's a feeling of a loss coming on. And so we teach these principles. And treatment centers, community, public, you guys are all welcome to come and participate. One of the most beautiful things is we do not talk about drugs. We talk about the positive aspects of the healing process. And it's very different than a lot of meetings. You'll come here and you'll feel it almost instantly. People here want to know you. You walk through the door of our program here, you are part of this team. People ask me all the time, what do you got to do to get involved? You just got to show up. But if you do that, you have to understand that you're also engaging in some very powerful relationships, because these people care about you. If you're on their team, they want to be able to trust you enough to pass you the ball when they need to, cover themselves. So it's like, hey, if you say you're going to show up for a race or an event on a Saturday, we know where you're going to be Friday night. You're going to be out doing dumb things, because if you don't show up on Saturday morning, we know that you aren't putting in full effort. And that's the beauty about why I've discovered that health and recreation, specifically sports and specifically running, is so in tune with recovery, right? It's not about bigger, badder, faster, stronger. It's about what journey you're going to put yourself in. And again, I told you about this a while ago. When I proposed this to my brother-in-law, Jerem, I said, I only want them to do like 5Ks, 10Ks. And he's like, Blue, you're holding them back. You've got to let them go where they feel they can, they can go. You can't restrain them. I'm like, well, I'm worried about cross addictions and stuff. And that has never been proved to be an issue. But here's the funny thing. I was trying to limit what they could do. Every one of my athletes that really engaged in this have always increased because they know how to channel the pain. They know how to move the muscle cramps. They know how to, excuse some of the stomach cramps and stuff because they've experienced pain before. And the pain that they've felt doesn't even compare to the pain that they've experienced in their past through their addiction. I remember talking to an athlete, years ago, and we were likening the pain of some of the muscle cramps and Charlie horses they were having, how bad it hurt. And then the comparison of it was made that, yeah, but did it hurt as bad as that jail door slamming behind you hurt? Did it hurt as bad as that first night you were alone because the Department of Family Services had to come in and remove your kids? That's pain. That is real pain. So when they're out there and they're feeling like they need to give up and they want to stop, that pain doesn't even compare to what they've already experienced. I think that's one reason why people in recovery make such amazing athletes, is they know how to channel it. They know how to let it go. But this is the beauty that I discovered in what this means and why running is such a staple in what we do, because it's the absolute worst. It sucks, but you feel amazing when you're done. You get to turn around and see how far you've come. All these medals back here, they weren't mine, because I lollygagged around. These are mine because I finished what I started. Just like recovery, you're going to finish what you start. And so you start to kind of metaphorically start to understand these things. And what I noticed when I was out running with my clients, and as we do these long races, and even way beyond clients and athletes that would come on from the community, I started realizing that when we do runs together, things like the relay races, the Top of Zion, the Badwater, Salton Sea, all these races that we would do together, this team got stronger. And what I realized was, real quick, as we're out running, you're processing your addictions. You get to this point where I thought I was breaking new ground on like helping people overcome addiction. What I was really doing, unbeknownst to me, was utilizing a therapeutic modality called EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Until I got certified in doing it, I didn't realize that's exactly what this was. I told you in the first chapter before the internet kicked us off that movement equals healing. And what I realized is that with these folks that were out running, they were telling me these things because they were processing it, much like what EMDR therapy does. But instead of having these weird kind of proximity corridors, sitting in front of a therapist, wagging his finger in front of you, you're in control. You're running your pace. And even naturally, before you go through the scope that's designed to help unlock some of that trauma, to help you let it pass and to let it go, movement equals healing. You do this more often than you think. And so what I do now, with my clients, my private therapy clients, it's different than Team Addict to Athlete, but they'll go in and they'll use the treadmills. I have 2 treadmills sitting next to you. I'll show you guys in a little bit. I'll be on one and they'll be on the other. And as we're walking, some of them that choose to do it this way, they'll use that as their ability to utilize EMDR to help release trauma. It works amazing. And it's natural. And it's up to you. That's what I love about this. It's up to you. I notice this with the races that we do. When you walk onto a race course and you see people wearing Addict to Athlete, your team, we have one athlete that's going through some heavy stuff right now. She's on the cusp of losing her grandfather. And she's a coach of ours. Her name's Liz. And Liz is kind of like our ambassador coach. She's been to dang near every chapter of Team Addict to Athlete. She's been more than I have been. And the one thing that is harmonious all the way through is this level of acceptance that if you have, the Addict to Athlete logo, you're family and you're on the team. And that's what I love about it. And so as we go through these experiences and you have like-minded people and you have opportunities to bear witness to your recovery and to share this with complete strangers who have someone, if not themselves, that struggle, this is how communities start to heal. This is where we start to reframe what that term addict authentically means. One of our goals was to reshape the community's approach on what an addict is and what it isn't. That is why we use the Roman numeral 2 in our logo, right? It's very specific. We don't use TO or the number 2. We use the Roman numeral 2 because the Roman numeral system does not recognize 0 as a number, which means you can never be less than 1. Even if you're at the door of trying to throw it all in, you are still here. And all you need to do is allow someone or something else to help buoy you up long enough. And once 1 becomes 2, that is the foundation to build on. If you have 2 columns, you can build on top of that. Think about that for a second. Very cool in my eyes, very, very awesome, because you're never less than 1. There's a Buddhist philosophy that I love to teach about becoming one with yourself before anything or anyone else. And that's absolutely true. And you'll find yourself on some of these runs. But we also have people that say running is for criminals and I hate it. So what do I get to do? Well, we have 1,001 different recreational resources here. We have our gym. We play softball. We do sports. We do all kinds of things that help bring movement into your recovery. But I would say the number one thing that stands Addict to Athlete out from a lot of other programs is that the service that we offer runs deep. And this isn't just, again, handing water out at an aid station. This is about public speaking. This is about being actively engaged. This is about creating opportunities and experiences for people. This is about all kinds of things that the athletes do to help show the public at large that they are no longer what the society would qualify them as addicts. So, there's a little bit about what we do. And this Giving Tuesday, we want to share with you a little bit more. And that's you being able to donate directly to our Project ELF by bringing an unwrapped toy down to our facility here, our home base location, 1875 South State Street in Orem, Utah, Suite T500. It's in the basement. You'll find us. It's really simple to find. But we'd love to have you come in. Tonight, Tuesday, is our Addict to Athlete meeting. We do this every Tuesday. Everyone is welcome, from family members that have a loved one that struggles all the way up to treatment centers in the community, youth groups, whatever. You guys are welcome to attend. And I will tell you, the atmosphere is safe. The message is powerful and motivating. And the people that you find here really want to invest in you. They want to know who you are. They want you to be part of this team. And I'll say this to a lot of people at times, that if you do not want relationships, if you do not want support, don't come here. Because we have a team right now, a core team that truly invests in one another. So much so that they do things, as free agents. They meet, to go trail running or hiking, to go walking, to do all kinds of things. We have women's groups that are now beginning, men's groups that are beginning. We have open gym hours where you can come here. And listeners, viewers, it's all free. There are 0 dues to be paid here. There are 0 contributions that you need to make. If you want to come take advantage, all you need to do is walk through the door. We don't charge for memberships. We don't charge for any of this. This is free for you because this is the program we've established. Now, if you're outside of the home base location, on our website, addicttoathlete.org, you're going to find all kinds of resources there, from our meetings throughout the state, all the way down to our calendar of events that we're doing. We typically want our athletes to participate in at least one community nonprofit event every month. So think about this, right? This means that you will register for a 5K or some kind of community event that goes to benefit someone in need. So not the big for-profit races. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's on your own dime. But we like for our athletes to invest in their communities that they once took from. So things that we've done in the past are things like, we have an athlete that unfortunately has discovered that she has breast cancer. And she is one of our oldest athletes. She's one of our neatest members. And I say old, not by age, but as authentic. She was there really close to the beginning. She in turn is the coach of our St. George chapter, Judy Bearcall. And we are doing a cakewalk sponsored by the Sawyer family. Terry Sawyer told you about Project ELF. And we do this when our own athletes need help or support. We meet at Terry's house. We go for a little 5K run/walk. We have some cake, we raise some money, and we can give this to Judy to help pay for her medical bills and some of her transportation costs as she moves to and from, the cancer treatment. Team Addict Athlete takes care of ourselves. We do a lot together. And so those are the kind of things we like to do to help bring awareness about who we are, but also contributions and assistance to communities that we once took from. One of the more special 5Ks, 10Ks that we did many years ago was for a family that lost a child to a drunk driver. And this 5K come across as kind of a benefit charity to raise money for medical expenses for this family that lost a child from a drunk driver. And when one of the athletes brought this to my attention and says, "Coach, I think we need to run this race," I was very, very afraid, listeners. Can you imagine why? Our name, Addict to Athlete, okay? It represents the fact that we experienced addiction. But when people that don't know us see that, that's all they kind of see. They're like, "What is this?" And I said, "We'll do this, because this family needs to know that not all of us end up like that." And I said, "Oh, we can do this if you do me a big favor. Will you contact the race organizers to tell them who we are and why we want to come? Because that could be a potential emotional response." And so she did. She contacted the race organizer, which happened to be a family member of this mother who lost her child to a drunk driver. And at first they were a little bit apprehensive until they really started to understand who we were and what we were about. And they let us come. And our athletes were able to help their fundraising efforts simply by showing up to run their race and to show them that we're sorry and that not all of us end up like that. And if we can take a little bit of the responsibility for that individual that committed that heinous act, you can see that there's hope even for that person. Talk about emotional. They allowed us to come participate with them. People who had similar issues that resulted in the loss of their child. It's a big deal, listeners. Not a lot of people put themselves in those kind of situations because it's awkward and it hurts, but it sparks conversation, it sparks relationships. And we did it. We have so many stories like that. I don't have enough time to tell you about the last 12 years and all the things that we've done, that we've seen. But I want to share with you guys now a video about what we do, what Giving Tuesday means. And I'm going to do my best to navigate this by sharing the screen. This could go amazingly well or horribly wrong. Not exactly sure. And we'll see if it actually works or not. But yeah, listeners, I really do appreciate you guys hanging in there with me and being able to talk about this. I don't get to talk about this stuff all the time because our podcast, which is amazing, not a lot of people get to understand or hear how this team started, what we do, what our philosophy is, what this nonprofit means, and what our future looks like. And I'll tell you a little bit about the future later on today. But again, if you are so inclined, we would love for you to bring one of your unwrapped toys down to our home-based facility, to come meet some of the team, to put that under the tree, and to kind of show, I guess, I don't know, your love and support for a child that you're unfortunately probably never going to get to meet, but you will absolutely be able to feel the love that that gesture will bring. Me being a recipient when I was a child of the Sub for Santa experience, I remember when I was so young, because again, we were poverty stricken. I remember like waking up and being like, holy cow, this is huge. What is this? You know, like maybe he is real. And it wasn't until years later that I discovered that it wasn't him as much as it was a charity. And when I found that out, you guys, I was wickedly embarrassed. And I'm not even sure why, you know, because now as an adult, I'm looking at this and I'm like blown away by someone's, like, I guess, willingness to sacrifice for us as children. And, you know, I know that there'll be times when kids might understand this, but I'll tell you, it's worth it. It's worth it because there's so many kids that like don't get what we've had. And it's not, again, it's not because their parents are in active addiction. A lot of these families have fallen on hard times. You know, I was able to bump into one of my very old clients that unfortunately had to take on another job because of some situations that were happening within her relationship. And she's like, I'm doing this because I'm trying to save up for Christmas. And I'm like, holy cow, this is like the universe aligning ourselves. I'm like, why don't you save that so you can get where you're going and let us help you? I don't think that's a coincidence, you guys. I just don't think that's a coincidence. So there's a lot to what I think that Project ELP does for people. More so what it does for you, the person offering the donation or being charitable with you know, your finances. These are huge things, and we don't take that lightly. I want you to know that stewardship and responsibility is very high. And I'd love for you guys to come down and see a little bit about what it takes to, you know, keep this organization running, but also what it does for the people that will be the recipient of your donations. So I want to share with you guys, you know, right now, just a little bit about what Team Addict to Athlete does. I'm going to share with you guys some of our videos that we've put together, go into a little bit about what Giving Tuesday means, and kind of wrap this up a little bit with where we're going. So yeah, don't, you know, don't run away. We're going to go and do a few little things here. I'm going to click on a few little tabs here and share with you guys a little bit about what we do to allow these relationships to thrive. And I think this is one of the neatest things about Team Addict to Athlete. Again, if you don't want relationships, I would highly recommend not coming here, because you will build relationships and have experiences that will blow your mind. And I think that's kind of the cool thing about it too, is realistically what it does to the person who really feels as though they belong to something bigger than them. So let's share the screen with you. Let's get up here and let's jump into some of our videos. If you go to YouTube, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's right here, Addict to Athlete, Coach Blue Robinson. There's stuff posted here all the time. Our podcasts go here. Everything kind of like ends up here that we do. For all you coaches right now, all of this fun stuff right here, you'll be seeing a lot more of these. Brooklyn is uploading all of our playbooks so that you coaches can utilize those for, you know, meetings that you do. And I think this is going to be a great resource that you guys can utilize. So you use the playbook, you use the videos, you know, open it up to your team, and you got a lot of resource kind of at your fingertips. But let's see, let's go down to, I love this thing because there's so many like learning curves you have to learn with this stuff. I'm always like blown away by how much media you got to put out there. Now, you'll probably see that we have a lot of social media. We've got LinkedIn, we've got Facebook, we've got TikTok, we've got, we got, you know, Instagram, all kinds of stuff. Jump on and become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. We put tons and tons of stuff in our libraries for you guys to kind of, you know, keep an eye on. But let's jump in here, show you a little bit about what Team Addict Athlete does. And yeah, we will be back in a moment. What a great experience. Just noticed that the audio on that was really kind of sucking. So we will definitely look at fixing that for the broadcast next. But nonetheless, guys, like, what we do on Team Addict to Athlete really does, I think, increase not just relationships and experiences, but this relationship-based program. I remember early on in recovery, people say, don't build relationships, just do you. It's not possible. It's not possible to just do you. There's so many relationships that are out there. Yeah, you be careful about romantic relationships and things of that nature, but to each their own. And when you have support of a team, when you have support of a community, I'm telling you, like, the outcomes are significant. There's always going to be a possibility that these relationships that you'll build here will not only strengthen you, but become lifelong. Again, I talk about Coach Jensen. I've known Coach Jensen for years, absolute years. And I'll be very honest with you, I never thought that he would move from a guy that I did some counseling and therapy with to my right-hand man. And Coach Jensen is an absolute champion in my book. From his perspective, his humility, just everything he does is just amazing. But I've also seen the coaches that take our training and stuff move into these positions of leadership that feel very much inadequate. But through that process, that refinement, they become leaders of their industry. I think sometimes these really kind of, I think they mean a lot to the communities that get to receive this. To become an Addict to Athlete certified sober coach, jump on addicttoathlete.org under our resources page. And what you can do is, check out if it's right for you. There's all kinds of resources that we can utilize to achieve the financial investment, from fundraising, all kinds of stuff. There's many times that throughout the year, again, because of the grants and whatnot, that we have been able to sponsor people to take this. But what it does is allow you to bring this grassroots movement to your community, to bring addiction out of the shadows and to create a healing pathway, through sobriety, through investments, and through, goal attainment. There's this concept by which we want to talk about these long-term recovery. Like, I'm in long-term recovery. Well, that's great. But we teach principles differently here. We teach the principle that you can heal from this. And I really, truly believe that if you can heal from this, then you can create a lifestyle that helps you turn that mess into a message. So, check out addicttoathlete.org for more information. You'll also find resources on there for information about how to cope with addiction, what you should do for next steps, channels to outreach for help and assistance, our backlog podcasts. Our podcast, I'm pretty proud of. We've been doing this now for 4 years, and we have some amazing stories on there, from professionals in the industry to professional athletes, all the way down to the athletes themselves. Each of these stories bring its own unique, I think, characteristic of success, overcoming adversity, and turning that mess into a message. So as we kind of come to a close, I want to talk a little bit about what's on the horizon for Team Addict to Athlete. As we are on Giving Tuesday, again, it's through donations and charitable kind of like contributions that help us operate, help keep the lights on and whatnot. And because of the grants that we've received, and hopefully more that will be in the future, we plan on being here for the long run, because we truly believe in what we're doing. We offer all kinds of online resources for rural communities. Beyond the sober coach training, there are things that you can do to be part of this team, even if you're not in an area that has a chapter. People say that, like, oh, all the online stuff, it's not authentic. It is when you have the right heartbeat of person behind that screen. There's a lot you can do to be part of this. Even though you may be, miles away, different state, different continent, you can be part of this team simply by investing in it, meaning showing up. Everything we do is free. A lot of the things that you'll pay for, will be things like, maybe you want a jersey, maybe you want to donate to Giving Tuesday or to a fundraising experience we're doing. But these are free resources to you, because we understand that this day and age, it's expensive to get help. what Team Addict to Athlete's goal and mission is to help provide a resource to see if this kind of investment and involvement might help sway, some of the curb of your addiction, or if you're through treatment on the other side and you need that support to come be part of this, to kind of turn that mess into a message. So there's a lot that can be done there, on a private therapy space, we can talk about that, but there are a lot of resources that we offer that you can utilize to help, move you from addict to athlete and beyond. Even more so with Team Addict to Athlete. Our chapter development is growing. We just recently, within the last 2 weeks, opened a new chapter of Addict to Athlete on the Ute Reservation with Coach Jonah out there and his lovely wife, Flo. They are the new coaches of Team Addict to Athlete out there as a sister program to the Vernal chapter. You went to Basin chapter with Coach James Johnson. We were able to go out there and launch this program with Coach Jonah and with the community out there, and it is a beautiful experience. And the neat thing about what they're doing is bringing this program to a rural community. This is how the heartbeat begins to gain that rhythm, is by people seeing a need for their community, much like what I did here. When I realized all we had here was 12-step programs, I started Addict to Athlete as an addition, not a replacement for recovery community-based programs. That's what we're seeing all over the place. And I am over the moon. And I say this often, and I need you guys to understand this and the love that I have. We are so lucky in the state of Utah because, from these and other programs, we've been able to see this grassroots movement by people that have like minds, that have skill sets and have desires, that have created programs like Addict to Athlete, but with their own spin. One of the most amazing, programs out there that we are very close in partnership with is Addicts Fighting Back. They're a community support group that shares space with us here, and they meet every Wednesday. And they are an amazing group of people who are doing like the heavy lifting in the addictive community and showing them that they're going to fight back. They're not going to take it lying down. We have Ian Akron Fit to Recover, which is a great, program that offers a location to go and to be part of a sober community with a gym atmosphere. We have Recovery Strong. We have so many programs in Utah because people are investing in their communities. This is one thing that I've absolutely loved and adored, wholeheartedly, because when we get this kind of movement, it tells you that these people, that our communities are taking addiction personally, that we're going to fight back, much like their name, Addicts Fighting Back. We're going to fight back, and we're going to step up to the plate because we realize that the troops aren't coming. We are the troops. And you see that in a lot of different aspects. And, there are so many avenues to pursue. So Addict to Athlete is not the only one out there. There are so many resources and programs out there. Find the one that works for you. Like I said, we do things very different than some of those other programs. The health and recreation part is kind of second to our education and therapeutic approaches. And so, although it's important, we like to create that atmosphere of education, of seeing the message behind that mess, about, being able to erase and replace, and to not typecast yourself into one paradigm. Even all the athletes that go out and run, we still cross-train a lot of us. We have a brand new mountain bike and cycling team that just started. There's so many avenues and opportunities, but what it truly is about investing in your life. It's about experiencing things that are new. And so Addict to Athlete is going to continue to grow that. Like I said, we have open gym times with athletes that have been certified as trainers to come out and help you. We're going to be offering a men's group and a women's group here specifically, free of charge. We're going to be offering all kinds of resources for the community, from family support systems, free of charge, because we don't think you should go bankrupt to find recovery. And if you can truly get involved, you can see if programs like this help, or if it's so intense that you need to take that next step, let us be there for you when you come back, because everyone loves a comeback. So throughout the day-to-day, we're going to jump on here and share a little bit more. Again, we would love for you to donate an unwrapped toy for Giving Tuesday for our Project ELF. Financially, if you want to contribute that way, please do so. But we really would think that that tangible gift will be so beneficial for those children come Christmas Day, that you'll have a heavy influence on by stretching out of your comfort zone. We will be here at our location to receive that all day and well into the evening. Tonight at 7:00 is our community support group meeting. Everyone is welcome. Everyone who has a loved one or struggles with addiction, whether you're in a treatment center, whether you're a group home, whether you're just a neighbor down the street, come be a part of this. Come see what Addict to Athlete does and feel the strength of what Team Unity can truly produce. If you want to drop off an unwrapped toy, please do so by coming down to 1875 South State Street in Orem, Suite T500. You'll go down to the bottom floor, right by the Utah State Extension. Down the hallway, you'll see all of our signage. You can walk right through the door. You can leave that toy under the tree. You can meet us as we're here, myself, Coach Blue Robinson, our athletic director, Marissa, and others as they come throughout the day. We'd love to get to know you. If there's anything we can do beyond that, please visit with us while you're here. We'd love to help channel whatever questions you have and maybe turn you on to the podcast. Tomorrow at the same time, we'll be doing the one-on-one live with Coach Blue, which is a weekly call-in show, much like this, only you guys get to participate a lot more than I do. But throughout the day, we'll be sharing some of our more, emotional videos, kind of showing you what Team Addict to Athlete does on a grassroots level of change. You'll hear this quite frequently. Whenever we sign off from anything that we do, we talk about turning your mess into a message. What does it mean? Each of you have the power to inspire because of what you've been through, addiction or not. I often hear that people that work in addiction, they have clients that say to them, unless you've experienced it yourself, you don't know how I feel. And I'm going to call garbage on that, because all of us go through the heartaches and the pains and the traumas of life. Some of us choose to, suppress that through drugs and alcohol. Others of us choose to suppress that through our work and our schooling pursuits. Some of us do this by avoiding. Some of us do it by running and working out. All of us go through the same thing. So therefore, if you think about turning your mess into a message, it doesn't matter like the method by which you've, kind of let go or pushed away some of that trauma and pain. What matters is what you do with it. And we'd love for you to be part of Team Addict to Athlete's mission. We'd love for you, if you're a professional out there, to come share with these athletes because they're hungry for it. And coming in and doing some community service here, sharing your skill sets. We've had people come and talk about finances and building relationships and dating and cooking and all kinds of things. We welcome anyone who has a skill set or a talent to come share it with these athletes, because you never know who, what, where, and why something's going to land on their hearts that's going to save their lives. So until we meet again later on today, please continue to turn that mess of addiction